All right. And feedback, you know? Do we still have feedback? No? We're good? Just double checking. All right, let's start with the sponsors. Head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out all the sponsors. I want to thank a few of them now. Gallo Technologies, Rhino Metals for all the tables, Right On Optics, Volquartz and Firearms, Blackwater Ammunition, Galco Leather Holsters, Pulsar. The cost of thermals and an IR have come way down. Go check out Pulsar. I think that that covers the gist. If I'm missing any of the rest, are listed on the website. A lot of sponsors, a lot of support for the show. Appreciate all the show support. Leave reviews. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember to tune in. So, got a busy week, couple housekeeping items, and hopefully we'll get some comments from some people. There's been a lot of intrigue about Ammo Gate, the cost of ammo, the intrigue around why there's a lack of ammo, and some of the different things associated with this whole ammo surprise, whatever you want to call it. There was a recent article written by Dave Dolbee that kind of shed some light on where some of the ammo issues could be coming from and what's causing them. Here's the facts we do know. Okay? I'm going to get into a couple of facts. One, the ammo shortage is not because of Joe the Prepper going and buying 4 or 5 cases. That's just a fact. I mean, that's not the reason. I can tell you this much. From everybody I'm talking to at every level, they're saying, no, that's not the reason. And we only know that because of the feedback we're getting from everybody at different levels. So second, to people that comment on that, I say this, you're just not looking at it through the right lens. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's because people are stockpiling. No, we make ammo for entire governments, for, the entire army, military, everybody, plenty of ammunition from that standpoint, plenty of capacity. Let me put it that way. A better way to put it is capacity. We have plenty of capacity to support that. Next, we have to understand the mechanics of the ammunition industry, right? So capacity is the ability to produce, right? The next thing is primers, right? Primers are a component. So the next thing is components, right? Some manufacturers may not produce the brass. They may not produce the primers. They may not produce the bullet heads. They may not produce the powder. And those are components. Obviously, in an ideal world, you make all of them. And if you make all of them, then you not only have all the components, but you have capacity and components, right? I haven't seen anyone forging steel or molten aluminum or anything in the back of shops. So that's not a capacity issue. That's a component issue. So we have to understand what these different things represent. And I think when people comment, or you get people that, come in and they know why, they're going to tell me why in the comment section. They know why. Then there's been a lot of people that have been floating the rumor, and this is fact. They're floating the rumor that it's a government hatchet job. The government is causing this. The government's not causing it. So it's not a government issue. Do you want to chime in back there, or are you just waving to me? You're just waving. Government. Use air quotes. The next thing is, and the fact that we do know is that some people rely on other people for components, very large entities. And some of those very large entities, obviously with Vista's purchase of Remington and other things, there's some very large ammo manufacturers that obviously control the balance. Now, we do know this. This is my fourth and last fact. It's no question, and you might be able to pull it up back there, but Winchester and and federal CCI, they've raised prices, okay? They've raised prices at the manufacturer level. Okay, why? Why is now a good time to raise prices? Now's a good time to raise prices because prices are so high at the retail level that you're not going to really feel it. If Winchester goes out and raises prices 10%, whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. And a case of Winchester 9mm is going for 50, 40, 60% over on Gunbroker or in an FFL because the FFL, whatever, wants to charge that. I think it's kind of scumbaggery, but they want to charge that. Supply and demand kicks in and they can slip that in like a thief in the night. And you really don't feel it till prices settle down. Meaning, will you ever see $160 cases of 9mm anymore? Probably not, unless it's Reman or something along those lines. Now, those are all facts. They're undisputed. Okay? I've published the news articles. They're fact. With that being said, with that fact laid out there, right? With that fact placed in front of you, what do we know? People say there's an ammo shortage. We don't think there's an ammo. I don't think there's an ammo shortage in the conventional sense. I certainly don't think there's a capacity shortage. What I do think is, and what we know based on confirmed sources, and these are sources I've worked with for a very long time, but I always recommend that we're entering the high degree of probability stage of this conversation, but let's take it with the necessary grain of salt. But I can say that there's a lot of truth to this. There's a lot of ammo companies out there right now with a lot of capacity, but those components are being held back from the component czars. And people can say, oh, that's their right. That's called capitalism, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, if you're okay with shouldering the burden of $1,000 9mm, then don't be outraged. In fact, turn off this podcast now. Don't be mad. Don't be angry. Be okay with it. If you're okay with that. The next step is, if you're not okay with it, and you're not okay with that degree of outrage, then, you have to understand the mechanisms of what's going on here. Do you think that Vista and some of those companies harbor some ill will towards the brands that drove up the bid on the Remington contract to go out and purchase all the remaining ammo divisions of Remington? If you think that they do, you might be on to something. And it's those companies' prerogative to hold back components. But I have on authority from excellent sources I've worked with for a long time, that they don't care that it's affecting your pocketbook as the end user. They look at this as an opportunity to gain ground and to gain control of the firearms business. This is going to hurt us in many, many ways. So I say this, whether it's to Vista, Federal, and they've been invited on the show. I'd love to hear their side. I'd love to hear their talking points. I've watched some of their videos. Notice there's a couple key things they don't talk about. They don't talk about how many primers and how many components they OEM'd or sold off in 2019, 2020 versus Q1 of 2021, which is a question that a lot of people should ask. They don't get into that. They just simply say, we're running at capacity, which I believe, which I think we all should believe. But if they're not giving out a little bit of their inventory to some of the other players, why? Okay? Why? This is a compelling story. Because at the end of the day, we shoulder the price of that. And there's a trickle-down effect. It's not just dollars and cents. I know instructors that can only instruct 2, maybe 3 times during the year because they can't fill their classes. Because people can't justify going out and spending X, Y, or Z on things. Just can't justify it. The students can't justify spending X amount on ammo, X amount on the class, and be able to shoulder that burden. Now, with all that being said, you could easily say, you could stop here and you could easily say, oh, John, it's no big deal. Who cares about a few instructors, right? I do, but you might be saying that. And you wouldn't be wrong. I would say the next thing is, what about innovation, right? If you can't test and you don't have enough ammunition to do testing, and I'm not talking about firearms manufacturers that manufacture their own ammo. Let me be clear. I'm talking about maybe it's a light company. Maybe it's this. I've had 2 or 3 sources say to me, we can't get enough ammo to do testing, at a testing level. And that's hurting our innovation because we can't get enough rounds downrange to test our products. Now, to firearms manufacturers that do their own testing, that's not a problem. Next thing, and people may not care about this, or they may, maybe they do. You run into the problem here, the bigger problem at the FFL level, which is people go in, they go to purchase a gun, and they can't buy enough ammo for the gun. And people might say, oh, John, that's the FFL's fault. It's their fault. They're not holding enough ammo back for the end buyer. Well, we all know that most FFLs do that. Hey, buy a new gun, you get 2 boxes, right? What's the harm in that? Well, the harm is when the person purchases that gun and they can only get 100 rounds for it, they're going to take that gun and they're going to throw it in a closet because they're going to say ammo's too high. So we're not doing a great job indoctrinating them into the sport. You have to look at ammunition as the popcorn in the movie theater, right? It's the thing that keeps people enjoying the movie, even if it's a crappy movie, they got their snacks. Now, with that being said, that's not going to cause any long-term effects. It is. Nobody buys one gun. They typically want to go out and buy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But that happens when people start to enjoy the recreation of the sport. And if they can't enjoy the recreation of it vis-a-vis the ammunition and vis-a-vis the ability to purchase, more firearms and enjoy the process, it ends up going in the closet like any other trinket. And I hate to use the word, whatever, trinket. But it goes into the closet and doesn't get utilized or whatever. Now, these can cause drastic long-term effects. Drastic. And if you don't do something about it and they don't settle this petty back and forth that they're having, it could cause problems. Now, there was an article that came out and it was released by Dave Dolbee on thebestshootingsite.com. And on that site, Dave gets into some of the background because he's privy to some information and he sees it. But I can promise you this, to everybody that's putting videos out there saying it's the government, it's not the government. Government intervention that could hurt us later would be an ammo tax or things of that nature. It's not the government. It's other entities. It's ourselves. It's the same problem I've discussed over and over and over again on this show and themes of this show. We do this to ourselves. We get a great opportunity to have a run on the market we've never seen, a generational run. And what happens? Old beefs, petty squabbles, nonsense comes in. And with that nonsense, this is what we're dealing with. The end user gets fucked by paying X for a box. Now, I'm going to try to get some comments from Dave. I'd like to see what he has to say about the article and his thoughts. And we're not going to make this is a different kind of show. We're not going to make this long, grandiose thing. These are just the facts. And we're just laying the groundwork. But we'll try to get Dave in for a comment. And I just want to say that it's very petty of the larger entities in this business if this is the case. And I'd love to have Federal or Winchester. People have asked me, how do we talk about this more? I'd love to have Federal or Winchester, even Hornady, come on and talk about it. Because let's say for a minute, another entity's machines are sitting idle. Why aren't they running? Is it truly a lack of components? You want to? You could come sit here, Dave. Sit over here. We'll slide him in. You know, he can come on down. But we did get Dave to come in and make a few comments. Respected writer, Dr. Dave, and give his thoughts on the article and what he's heard and what he's uncovered. Because we have many sources that have come forward on this. Dr. Dave.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pull the mic close to your face. So I laid the groundwork. I just want to get your thoughts on the article, what you've heard, and what you think is going on.
Well, you know, I did an article on this. I did a little bit of research that came up from a few friends of mine talking about it. And I really expected people to, you know, the ammo manufacturers just say they were flush, you know, with sales. Everybody was out.
Joe the Prepper.
That I found out. You know, that was confirmed. Yeah, you know, sales are great. They're selling everything they can make. And then, you know, we got into the discussion of, you know, but they're going broke. I'm like, well, how can you be going broke if you're selling everything you can make? It's because of the quantities that they can make right now. And the big issue out there seems to be primers. Nobody can get primers. They're trying to order them from overseas and then go through all the regulatory stuff and all of that to get, you know, bullets and, you know, ammunition, firearms, whatever sent in. And that's the big holdup right now. We're hoping that, you know, sometime this summer things will open up. But right now it seems to be that, you know, for a variety of different reasons. I mean, you know, you talked to Tom Taylor in that, and, you know, he was very diplomatic about it. I mean, he confirmed that it was, you know, primers are the big issue, and that, you know, maybe the big manufacturers are withholding them intentionally. There's certainly plenty of allegations out of that of people I've talked to. And the other one is, you know, maybe demand is just that high that they don't have the...
Well, I talked very openly about some of the gamesmanship that might be going on, about people that drove up the Remington bid. I was very open about that.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that, and there's certainly, you know, been able to confirm from, you know, other sources there's some bad blood going on over that.
Which is a business modality, no doubt.
It's a business modality, and if the bigger manufacturers, because there's really only two of them in the U.S. right now, major manufacturers of primers, who's going to have any, you know, extras to sell for anybody. And, you know, if they are playing the game, it's good for them because they're squeezing the competition. You know, they can make all the big profits. You know, there's been plenty of price raises over the last year. I mean, we've all seen that when we go to the store. I think, you know, Tom or somebody may have quoted, you know, like 9 separate price raises.
And that's something I wanted to clarify, and I want to ask you, because you see all the chatter online and all the talking heads, and I just want to touch on this because you're out there, you hear the chatter and what's going on. There is, well, he's got to talk closer. He's got to talk closer. Is that what it is? Yeah, closer. Right. So some of the chatter that's out there is that one, it's Joe the Prepper. 2, it's the government stepping in. It's this, that. I explain to people that don't quite understand that it's none of those things, and we've confirmed that through multiple sources.
The government always has major contracts out there. There's major contracts that they have for law enforcement, Department of Homeland Security, military, whatever. Those contracts are already in place. There wasn't any major contracts that suddenly, because of COVID, the government doubled or tripled or quadrupled their orders. So that's already mixed into the figure. You've got Joe the Prepper. Okay, so Joe the Prepper's out there buying 1,000, 2,000 even, whatever. There's not enough Joe the Preppers out there buying thousands of rounds to actually cause this to last this long. And if you look at the ranges, they're not being hammered with people out there shooting them. So nobody's burning up the ammunition and going back out to buy more. You've got the new buyers, you've got the new people out there. They went out, they tried it, it was fun. Hey, they want to do more. You've got the people who want to get training. I mean, the trainers are getting killed right now just because people can't afford the ammunition. You know, when you're buying, you know, 9mm at $1 a round, well, how many rounds are you going to shoot in the course? So, you know, we're suffering on that. Who's going to take, I want to take my kid out, I want to take the neighbor out, I want to introduce somebody to shooting. I don't want to spend $300 to go and introduce them to shooting for a day, and they don't want to spend $300 just to try it. So none of those theories hold true for the ammo crunch. They're all small contributing factors, certainly, and there's a cumulative effect, but there's a major drought in there in the primer supply. Manufacturers, smaller manufacturers, mid-sized manufacturers are all saying, look, I can't buy as many primers this year from the manufacturers as I could in the past. And that's stopping them from keeping their machines running full time.
And the last thing I want to kind of bring up, because we have more sources fleshing this out, and there could be more to come. I hope that there isn't. We hope that it all gets back to normal. 2 questions. We have 8 million new gun owners. That's projected, but and it's growing every day. So the numbers vary on that, but about 8 million is the number a lot of people are throwing around now, based on NICS checks and based on traffic and everything else. So you have these people out there, and I explain to the audience, and I'm trying to explain to them, because people say, should I be mad about this? Well, you should be mad, 1, because you're the one shouldering the burden for old beefs in the gun industry. 2, the other factor is we're not doing a great job indoctrinating these new shooters into the sport, and that's part of the issue. You have 8 million people out there that are essentially going to take the 100 rounds that they were able to purchase with the gun and throw it in the closet and say, I'm not going to go pay X for ammo. So you lose a lot of that indoctrination period of something going from a hobby to a part of their, something going from something they just bought for I'm scared, versus it becoming a hobby and something that they truly enjoy and becoming enthusiasts. And then that trickles down to NRA memberships and everything else, and NSSF, everything else in between. We want those people to become enthusiasts. Then, the second question becomes, the industry-wide risk of that trickling down, as, this is a very delicate flower, if you will, in the gun business, and it's a dangerous game that they're playing. What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. If we're not getting new people in, if new people aren't going out, if new people aren't becoming enthusiasts of the sport, then they're going to find something else to do. Less people out there, as you said, means less memberships to the NRA. It means less support for the NSSF. It means less support to the manufacturers. And while they've enjoyed a good run and they've been able to sell pretty much everything that they can make, that's going to dry up quick, and it's going to dry up hard. And when it does, where are we left? Where's the Second Amendment? Who's the supporters? Where's the next generation? We're not doing the classes. If we're not doing the classes, people are less safe. People are less safe, make mistakes, negligent discharges, whatever happens. And then all of a sudden we're getting a black eye on the industry, and then the politicians come in again with the feel-good politics. And then they're looking to take us out. And then we don't have the support, we don't have the numbers, the people, the money to actually go out there and fight. And the people who went out in a panic, they bought a gun because they were worried about it. They bought a box of ammo and put it in the closet. Are they a true supporter who's going to stand up for the Second Amendment? They bought one out of fear that they never even shot. Are they really going to be there for us when we need them? That's the big fear and the big danger in the industry in the future.
And we don't see a way out of this until you get some bigger players that begin producing the components. And I explained the difference between a component shortage and a manufacturing shortage. They're 2 different things. And I think what we're seeing is a component shortage at the lower levels. The why is what's speculated on, the mid and lower levels. The why is the speculation. Is it because of, beefs and intrigue and all those things? And it makes us vulnerable from systemic risk from politics, too, that we don't control, which could potentially become an ammo tax, which could absolutely devastate us at a point like this, because now prices are out of control. They could stay out of control for a very long time, and that's one of my fears. Now is a great time to be getting lower cost ammunition to flood the market. And I'm going to say it, Dave, and I know you won't, you may, this is a very petty thing, in my opinion. If what is proven to be true, this is a very petty thing at the business level between companies. And shame on the larger players. And I wish they would come on and talk. They're welcome. Come on down.
Yeah, we definitely love to hear from some of them. I've reached out to some of my sources, and it's just verboten to talk about right now, especially on anything that's, somewhat confidential, or you just get the straight company line, no, we're doing everything that we can. And like we say, it's not the major manufacturers aren't doing everything they can. It's, are they supporting the other mid and small size manufacturers and allowing them to do everything we can? Like you say, an ammo tax is absolutely devastating. People aren't shooting now because of the cost and availability of ammo. Go ahead and drive it up another 25 cents a round, or 5 cents a round, or whatever crazy thing that they've come up with. And then again, who can afford to shoot? Now we're starting to get into disparities where your lower income families, it's hurting them more than it's hurting the upper income families. We know where that goes to. We know that leads to a discussion on racism and inequalities between neighborhoods and races and systemic and all of this. And it just gets into a bigger thing, but it's a danger. We've got to get this stuff out there. We've got to get the manufacturers out there. We've got to start importing. If the U.S. can't manufacture it himself, we've got to get it. This is nothing more than, even if it's manufactured with inside the industry, it's as big of a danger as when President Obama stopped the secondary lead smelters, because that's where we got most of our lead to make the bullets from. Prices went up because now we had to get first source lead instead of the secondary source leads. And this is going to do the exact same thing. We're now relying on foreign countries to get us ammo for our sports shooting. What happens in our military? What happens in a crunch or crisis? Are they going to be able to suddenly ramp it up? Are they suddenly going to find warehouses of ammunition? Where's the danger, and why are more people not more concerned about it? It's more than just complaining, gee, I got to pay a few bucks more to go out and play. It's a true danger to the Second Amendment and possibly to our security, certainly to our safety.
It's certainly the canary in the coal mine to a greater issue. Now, here's my suggestion. I'm sure Dave has his own, and we can kind of, we're making this a quick and dirty one, so we can kind of leave it at this. My suggestion is, comment, ask questions, whether it's you see somebody talking about it. I know there's a bunch of YouTube posts speculating. I did my own search on it, and I found that a lot of people are talking about it. Dave broke the article on bestshootingsite, bestshootingsite.com, right?
Blog.thebestshootingsite.com.
Blog.
Right.
So go check that out. But at least we're men enough to look at a different side of this and what it could be, because it's just asking simple questions. I wasn't asking anything crazy. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense to me. We can outfit an entire army and then fucking bucket loads of ammo. And what we found when we started to peel back the layers was that there is capacity. It's a component issue. And if that component issue is due to business politics, then shame on those companies, because they're using this as a very advantageous time to drive up manufacturer prices, because you're not going to feel it, right? The sting isn't going to be there.
If true, they're really threatening the future of the Second Amendment and our rights.
100%. I agree with that 100%. So you should be a little mad. So maybe do a little research, guys. Maybe pull back on what you reach in your pocket and you buy for a month. I mean, believe me, a month will, look at fucking Disney Plus with this Gina Carano thing. It's going to be a hiccup. Maybe for a month, cancel some of the ammo companies. No, I mean that sarcastically, but maybe for a little bit, do some research, do some digging, do some fact finding, start asking questions. Where are all the primers? I asked you guys this before. The $1 million question here is, what were the big boys OEMing for primers in 2019, 2020 versus Q1 of 2021? I'm curious. I want to know the answer. And if it's less, why?
Why? Is it that they're filling such a need and such a supply and they're selling so much more? Or is it just that there's
hoarding? A beef?
They're the ones hoarding it. And for what reason?
Yep. So it's their prerogative to hoard it. Nobody argues that. But is there more to it?
It's their prerogative. But if they're an industry, if they're a manufacturer who's really out there for the people in the Second Amendment, then no, they can't justify hoarding it. They can say it's a business decision, which would upset a lot of people, but they're getting short-term gain for the long-term pain. And that's what we're going to do when we, have to go and fight this and fight, possibly the Biden administration,
it
should
leads
the Senate
to
fall, different things. We've got no organization left that's going to have the money and the support and the numbers and the people and the war chest of funds to go out there and fight this force. And that's what it's really hurting us at.
It leads to a greater issue. Well, it's a great article. Go check it out. I kind of partnered up with Dave on this podcast because he broke the article and I had been kind of banging the drum, asking the questions. So we put our heads together and said, let's do a quick one. But here's the deal. Do your research. To everybody out there, do your research, ask the questions. And I think you'll find some very interesting answers. And yeah, it should make you mad because Tom Taylor came on and Sig said, they haven't raised any prices. And I know what's going to happen, and I'm going to say it on here. Believe me, once SIG starts manufacturing their own primers, I can guarantee you they're going to come out with low-cost ammo, and they're going to stick it up the ass of everybody that had been driving the ammo prices up, because why not? So a short-term gain might be a long-term loss. We'll see.
Loss for the industry.
For the industry, certainly. So I think they're doing the right thing by not raising prices, and I think the ones that are slipping it in like thieves in the night, don't tell me it's because of rising costs because of COVID. Come on. Stop it. Okay? If you want to say it's rising costs because of the politics or some law or a bill that came down, I might eat that. I'm not buying it's because of COVID. Not if it's that many price hikes across the board. And is there corroboration on those price hikes? We don't know.
Right.
I'm asking. Federal,
I haven't heard anything about corroboration on it, but
Yeah.
then obviously nobody's going to. But I haven't even heard of anyone alleging that.
Right.
Just alleging, manufacturers hoarding the primers.
Well, I'll say
Carving
this.
out the little guys.
Vista, you're invited on the show. Federal, you're invited on the show. Hornady, you're invited on the show. You're all invited. Come on down.
Other manufacturers,
Anyone.
if you're out there making bullets, come talk to us.
Come talk to us.
Tell us we're right.
Come on
Tell us
down.
we're wrong. Tell us, that we've heard is sour grapes. Tell us what we've heard is definitely what you're seeing.
Well, it's certainly not sour. I'll argue that it's not sour grapes, but I think there's more to it. And as it fleshes out, we'll report more. We have several sources working deep in the industry to bring us information, and we'll be parceling that information out as it comes. And I'm looking forward to more articles from Dave as he fleshes some things out. I want to thank Dave for stopping in. It was a quick stop in. He's a very busy man.
Appreciate you having me.
Appreciate him coming by. Go check out the website. It's the best blog, blog on thebestshootingsite.com. Go read his articles. He's got several sources working deep in the deep state. So I appreciate that. And remember to hit like and subscribe. We need you, and we need your support. And several big announcements coming up. Looking forward to future guests. Go thank all the sponsors. Head over to the website, www.johnbartoloshow.com. Is the website down below? Is that a thumbs up? It's a thumbs up. We got the website. Now, I can't see your thumb back there. You're like, oh, there you are. Hiding in the weeds. I want to thank a few of the sponsors: Galtech Rhino Metals, Galco Leather Holsters, Enforce Weapon Lights, Right On Optics, and Blackwater Ammunition. Appreciate all of them. Appreciate everybody who supports the show. And thank you to everybody here, and thank you to Dave. We're out.